if you're going to build something big, let's go big or go home. If you want to drive from Stavanger to Oslo, you have 1 liter of gas, don't even start. So if you say that's what you want to do, you need money. And of course, that means that you are giving away some of your company, at least you get fuel, you can fill up the tank and you can start driving.
Lasse is a Norwegian entrepreneur who was a musician, well, still is a musician, and built a company that he IPO'd with for $3.2 billion. That is a unicorn. This is an amazing journey, talking about his journey, about music. We did have some technical issues. I hope you forgive me, but it's still a gold episode.
Well, Lasse, welcome to the Sound Connections podcast.
Thank you for having me.
We've been trying to record this for a while, and it's really interesting because normally I do remote interviews because most of my guests have a pretty international footprint. But you happen to be in the same city that I also live in, and you're from here.
California or Norway.
But you do also live in California.
I do.
Yeah. Lasse, this is going to be a quite different and interesting episode because we're going to talk about you and your success. You've built a unicorn, but you started out as a musician, and you're still a musician. And we're going to talk about your founder's journey, your success, maybe even the stress. and then also,
yeah, that's a good mix.
And then also reflect back on the music industry. Yeah. Because the reason why I want to do this is it's hard to really meet incredible success in the music industry. And there's many reasons for that, and we'll talk about it.
Yeah.
But I would also love to see you from the outside, but having an inside perspective, reflect on what we do. But Lasse, I'll give you the honor of introducing yourself. So who are you and what do you do?
Thank you very much. I'm a simple guy from the west coast of Stavanger, or Norway basically. Kind of like born and raised there, born curious, and that's probably one of the big kind of like driver for everything I've been doing in music and in tech. School dropout, not that something that I'm kind of like very proud about, but my interest would come like in very different things. And of course everything started with music.
Yeah.
Kind of like, and my dream was to kind of like to be a rock star, and honestly I failed that. So, but that's still kind of like my big passion.
Yeah. Well, you can argue you're a rock star in entrepreneurship to some degree.
You know, you maybe have some hit songs in either in business or music. So it's have some good ups and downs like everybody.
Before we get into sort of your story, I would love to actually just challenge you a bit. When you think about the music industry right now, what do you think about it? Because I can see that you are involved, you have thoughts, you have activities. What's your reading of the music industry right now?
I think we even have a big problem when it comes to actually make sure that the artists actually get paid.
Yeah.
And so the whole thing about, like, it's been a mess for decades.
Yeah.
Kind of like with music rights, making sure the artists actually get paid, and how contracts and how, excuse my French, people have been fucked over. And honestly, with AI, I think it's going to get much worse before it actually gets better.
Yep.
And honestly, if these fantastic musicians, artists can't create new, beautiful songs, kind of like life will be sad and boring. And I think that's the biggest challenge: the rights, music rights, and making sure the artists actually get paid.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting. We'll come back to that because we'll sort of delve into your success and how it reflects back on your thoughts on the music industry. But I need to understand, you dropped out of school.
Yep.
You want to become a rock star. When did that fail, and did your entrepreneurship start at the same time?
You know, there's kind of like a common thread here, because when you're born curious, kind of like you're always looking for something new. And I probably started more balanced than companies, basically, but it's a lot of the same process. You kind of like, you need to find back numbers. They're all kind of like interesting characters. You're trying to get them together. You're trying to get the drummer and the bass player to actually be in sync, so it actually gets groovy. They're all very strange characters, but you need them all. Diversity is so very important. And the same thing kind of like with in the tech industry. You need insane tech geeks that are sitting in a corner and doing some coding, and you need extrovert people out there talking about it. So again, it's all about, it's a team sport. So in music or in tech, it does not come like one single guy, there's always something together. Even if it's a solo artist, there's a lot of things going on behind the scenes.
Yeah, absolutely. So you understood the combination of band members, but that ultimately failed. Could you explain why you didn't succeed in music?
It's kind of very simple because getting paid for gigs can be hard, and very often when we were playing, kind of like the bar tab was much higher than what you got for playing the gig. So the business model didn't scale.
Okay.
It was a lot of fun, and of course sometimes you need to pay your bills, and then you start, well, what can I do in addition to kind of like doing the music?
Yeah. I think paying the bills is one of the biggest pain points in music in general.
Yes.
And it's going to be really interesting to see how that's going to change with AI. It's going to change with what's happening. We won't give all the good stuff right away. So, but okay. So what happened? You just needed to find something besides music, or did it happen parallelly that you start working on projects, or like on a career side with entrepreneurship?
It's coincidence, kind of like the first job I got was actually in kindergarten. Was I met somebody at the party, and we're saying, I need a job. And then the following kind of like morning or Monday, she called me and said, I got a job for you. Okay. Yeah, you're gonna look after 8 girls. Okay, so how old are they? Like, between 1.5 and 3. And you know my next question. What about diapers? Yes, of course. They're 1.5 years old. But honestly, so that was a coincidence. I at that time kind of like everybody had to go into the army. So I had to do that for a year. Didn't get anything out of that at all. It's kind of kind of interesting story because I applied for this place. Where everybody are doing the Morse test. And I came in, it was like 120 people that took the test. And I was number 3 of everybody that came in for being the best kind of like, best score, because for me, I didn't sit there and kind of like count small or long things. It was beats. So for me, it was just rhythm. I recognize rhythms. And so I came out as number 3 in that year for being the best, and I ended up riding, kind of like in the big trucks for a year. So they make it put me in that. That's an original.
Yep. and then there's a big gap from military in kindergarten to, building and selling a unicorn.
Yeah. But also the only thing good with the army and the music is that I probably had more weekends free than athletes, because as soon as we have a gig, I come in and like a kitchen, can I get 3 days off because I need to travel? They always said yes.
Okay, great. Yeah.
So I kept on doing it still. And then I came back trying to get a job, and my brother basically said kind of like, because I like to be outdoors and also been kind of like building stuff up in trees and stuff, and said maybe I want to be like a carpenter or something. You can be out in the summer and have it nice. And now you should go into tech. I said, why? Because they pay much more. Okay, whatever. My passion was music anyway, so I don't care. And then I started applying. Again, I was lucky because I applied for a company, a computer company here locally. And the guy that was actually doing the interview, that same day he was building kind of like the company football team. So I had one question: do you play football? And I did, so I got the job. So that's how I ended.
Easy. Okay. Wow. Okay, but has your life always been this coincidental? Is that sort of how it is, or did the intention start coming down the line?
I think the roots getting down to being curious.
Yeah. Okay.
Always, because kind of like, first of all, I had this this saying that I never say no to something before I know what I'm saying no to.
Yeah.
So if people ask me, kind of like, yeah, I'll check it out. And I think that's being curious, that's always been the drive. On looking for something new. Always think you're gonna make a hit song or doing an IPO or whatever, but it's the combination of persistence and curious. I think. I think I'm probably more that way.
Yeah. So you went into IT, you got this job because you could play football.
Yes.
But that turned into the actual IT skills, or?
Yeah, the kind of like, and again, some people are kind of like afraid of new technology. Again, for that curious background, I was always kind of like first in line and grabbing every new shit that came past my way. So I did some crazy thing in a company in Oslo, Texas Instruments actually.
Okay.
So what I was doing is, hey, well, they hijacked me and moved to Oslo. And then I did some other crazy stuff in Oslo, and it was actually people from the headquarters in Austin that saw what I was doing, and they can you move to Austin? So I moved to Austin.
Was it because you had like an innovation project, or
Yeah.
what? Yeah. Okay.
It was basically combining new technology in a very interesting way. And yes, that was everything with respect to doing something new.
So you sit at Texas Instruments and you just think like there must be. What was your thought process? Why did you pursue something new? Like, did you have the freedom to do it, or like, just give me the context?
No, again, it's kind of like you want to move to Oslo. That sounds fun. You want to work for a US kind of like computer company, and why not? Let's try it. And of course, kind of felt that I was hitting kind of like the kinder, they call it the kinder egg. Three good things, because you know Austin, the best place one of the best places on the earth for music.
Okay, so that was the secret motivation. Okay.
Oh, absolutely. Down like on 6th Street, downtown Austin, you look for and wonder where is there a live band playing. You wonder how many live band is in every spot. And the quality was just insane.
Okay, wow.
So then I get paid. I can hang around with musicians and beautiful place.
Yeah, it's funny because I'm quite the opposite. No, people rarely ask me anything because I'm so intentional in what I want to do that I always like have directions of sort of like, I don't really look at the outside. Of course, there's coincidences, and I greet them when they come. Yeah. But it's quite interesting to see that almost like your career, at least the start of your career, has been defined by coincidence and curiosity.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, so you end up moving to Austin.
Yeah.
And you love it because of the music.
Yeah.
And you build up skills. When did the founder journey start?
Yeah, that's a good question. Basically, what happened is that the Texas Instruments sold some of the computer stuff back to another company, so I moved back to Norway. And again, the company actually started to be like the corporate, and kind of like, and that doesn't fit. You want to explore, do new things, and so the first thing was this company that wanted to start an office in Stavanger. And of course, I love this place, so they asked me, "Do you want to come on, move back and start that office?"
Okay.
Of course. And coincidence, I said yes to that, and then that was fun for a while. Then that also started to get boring. It's not fun you playing the same set list over and over again. It's in the end.
But did that feel like a corporate startup kind of thing? Like you have responsibility of starting this company?
A little bit.
Yeah.
And got a little bit of taste on that.
Yeah.
And then kind of like, this was probably late 90s. Me and a friend of mine in that company, we signed the biggest contract for that company ever. And the day after I resigned. And didn't have a clue, but then I really would like to do a startup from scratch. So rented an apartment in Bay Area in Silicon Valley.
Okay, that's brave.
took a plane over, kind of like found this apartment, started to have a lot of these whiteboards, like paper on the walls. I said, what the hell should we do?
So you moved to the Bay Area without an idea?
Yes.
Okay, great.
And a really fun story because my friend, which was probably one of the best sales guy ever, so he's like really good, and we found really good like to have this technology for a big company in the US and bring it back to Europe. So we went out and tried to get a contract with them. So we finally got a meeting with this executive vice president of the company and begging for an agreement basically. And then suddenly he looked at us and said, how big is your company? And I was shit, what now? And my friend says, you're looking at it. So yeah, we got the deal and happy campers. We were back home and started building.
Okay. What were you building?
At that time, this was a time of everybody wanted to build kind of like internet portals, kind of like not websites, but interactive things with a lot of application and stuff. So we built kind of like a framework to really fast put it together very interactive websites. That was with some for our own development and some infrastructure that we basically have all an OEM agreement.
How do you, because when you're a musician, you're very passionate about your craft, and oftentimes you're very particular with genre and expression. But then the way that you've driven your entrepreneurship life, it has had IT in common, but also seems like whatever comes my way, I'll embrace it.
Yeah.
Like how do you draw those parallels with this intention of my craft and then your entrepreneurship journey that seems somewhat rather coincidental? Like, did you still have the same passion for the projects, or what was it that drove you?
Honestly, no. Like my my passion is still music, and tech is something that I kind of like, as you said, coincidence kind of like came into. But I think the common thing is that building something from scratch, getting the band together, like create something, and there's no difference on building a band, again, the team members. You need to hopefully get them sober before they get off stage.
That helps, yeah.
That helps. You need them to actually play together and hopefully to create a really nice song. And the reward is the public. You kind of like standing ovation or the big applause you get. And tech is the same thing for me. You have an idea, like you have an idea with starting a band. You need to find 5 people. You need to get them motivated and believe in the same thing. And the reward here is that you create something unique and somebody actually buys it and they put it into production and they get value out of it. So it's a little bit of the same. You know, it's all about people. It's actually creating something that has not been created before. And hopefully somebody likes it.
Yeah.
And that's the same thing with music or starting a tech company.
There's a lot of people who start bands. Very few who get to stand on the big stages.
Yeah.
And you got to stand on the big stages in tech with ForgeRock.
Yeah.
And as far as I understand, you say you love putting the band together, creating, getting the applause, but there's a very big difference from that than IPOing.
Yes. Specifically the last phase of that, which is really good.
Yeah, but let's jump to ForgeRock. When did this happen in your career? When did you start this?
So I started that company in 2010.
Yeah.
Kind of like built from basically, as one would say, an overdose gin tonic. It was not an overdose, but I still survived. But I was definitely some influence that this sounds like a great idea. Let me start calling some people and see if this can fly. And things started to click. And kind of like, again, it's also really hard. The first kind of like phase is the most fun one, but it's
really fun.
it's the hardest, and you're totally broke. So we went on without almost like 2 years without any pay or anything. Yeah, you know, have you seen the thing where kind of like people are using credit card and just run in circles? I did the main star in that that show, but I'm not proud about that either. But anyway, and just before Christmas 2011, there was an investor in London that had been somehow figure out what we were doing.
But what were you doing?
So the idea was like all business was kind of like moving online. And of course, if you're going to sell something, you need to authenticate. You need to know who is this, kind of like what services do you have access to, and how do you charge people, even logging into your bank account or whatever. Everything was moving online. The web was not only like a telephone book where you can read the yellow pages. You had all online services. So the whole security of that was what we provided.
Okay.
So and the market is just insanely big. So yeah, went pretty well, pretty fast.
And you built it with who?
So it was people that I know. Some of the people, at least one of them I worked with directly before, and three other people are basically in the ecosystem around that company. So there was individual that I had some kind of like relationship to.
So band members, you got together. Yeah, but how did that look like? So we'll get to the investor, but like you have this idea. Did he have it in a group over the gin tonic, or like what was the constellation in that talk?
No, it started sadly alone, me and the gin tonic.
Okay.
And then of course you have some ideas of basically different skills that you need. So like I'm a keyboard guy, of course. If you want to start a band, you need a drummer, you need a bass player, and somebody that actually know how to sing. Because I can't. They told me after many years that even if I had a mic, that I'd turn it on. But that's a different story. But kind of like it's the same thing here. Like I needed a really good sales guy, and I worked with one that was the best I ever worked with. I needed somebody that was really down in the weeds. I get easily bored. I don't want to sit there and read kind of like a spec from and really understanding everything that's going on. Somebody else can do that. So it's kind of like finding people that has complementary skills.
Yeah.
Start calling them. Started with the easiest first. Nothing boring. You will follow you, and then kind of like one of them were in London, so we flew over, me and another guy, and spent a long night to convince him. So that's, you build it up kind of like step by step.
Okay.
Getting the core team together first.
So this investor in 2011 was looking to invest in something in this space, or like, how did you go about it?
Yeah, of course, kind of like e-commerce, online banking, online everything. Of course, it's the market was just everything is basically online. But then and now, so people were of course looking for somebody that knew what they were doing in spaces which has a huge addressable market. I'm not actually sure how they heard about us. I need to figure that out one day. But I was also before that, because we were sitting there, and if you're going to build something big, it's really hard to do that organic. Kind of like you earn $1, then you spend $1. Probably you're dead before you get there. I normally say if you want to drive from Stavanger to Oslo, you have 1 liter of gas, don't even start. You know you will not get there. So we sat down the core group, and it's pretty late 2010. And say, what do we want to do? Like you have this kind of like we call it kumbaya moment. And was very unison. Let's go big or go home. And this is what we want to do. We want to be the category leader in our space, in the identity access management space. And so if you say that's what you want to do, you need money. And that's okay. That means you need to kind of like start kissing a lot of frogs, also known as investors. And of course, that means that that you are giving away some of your company. At least you get fuel. You can fill up the tank and you can start driving. So everybody was very okay. Let's do that. So I started. This is probably August, September 2011 when I started calling investors. I've never done it before, and ended up with a top sheet the day before Christmas 2011. So it was.
That's pretty good.
It was good. I never done it before. Fast learner. It's kind of. It's knowing your audience is always the most important.
Sure. Yeah.
Kind of like you don't kind of like play country investor in a blues club, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Also for investors, they have things they like and they have things they don't like. So if you just pay it a little bit attention and you learn fast, it's your story. It proves. In every meeting.
But you said you didn't pull out a salary for 2 years. Was this also after the investor money came in? Did you run it almost like bootstrapped expenses, or?
Before everything was bootstrapped.
Yeah.
When as soon as we went from zero to get $7 million, which is
That's
strange.
That is that's impressive.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's not normal.
No.
So don't try that.
No.
Anybody out there. But we were lucky. And, we got a good.
Well, what do you think they saw in you guys? Was that a great team with the timing, the idea, with execution power? Like, what do you think was the X factor?
Execution eats strategy for breakfast. And we already wrapped up. We had some good traction. We had some good customers. We had a pretty unique team. I said, again, the diversity was really, really good. You didn't have like 5 geeks or 5 sales guys. You had diversity. And we already done some pretty cool stuff. But it's all about execution.
Yeah. You said you were pretty broke. What was your life situation there? Like, did you have a lot of responsibility in your life, or?
Unfortunately, yes.
Yeah.
So no, it was brutal. Of course, when I had the jobs back in my old company, things were much better. But I ended up after selling my car, stuff like that still just get the wheels turning. So it had an impact on the surroundings.
Yeah, I'm an entrepreneur as well, right? And I just had this talk with my wife yesterday. Like, I have 3 small kids.
Yeah.
I've been full-time entrepreneur for 5 years. The amount of sacrifices you need to do to pursue this passion, it's insane. And like, one thing that we talked about yesterday is like, I can't promise you success. I can promise you I'm happy.
Yeah.
And then she's like, okay, the only thing you need to return to me is just consistent, stable income.
Yep.
Then I can accept it.
Yeah.
So that's the next goal. Of course, I make money, but like something comparable to give for safety, because the cost it takes being an entrepreneur is just immensely big.
Yes.
At least my perspective is, but you can't do it for the price.
No.
That's too short-sighted.
Yes.
Or it's misguided of what it's about.
I totally agree.
So what was your motivation? Like, what was your explanation to your surroundings that I'm gonna go broke now because of this? What did you tell them?
Only half of the truth.
Okay.
Really, not in a bad way, but kind of like, sometimes being an optimist, as you understand, that of course you always think that now it's gonna happen. It's gonna be okay next month. You kind of like even betting it yourself sometimes that things are going well. So, but you really need that back from your partner, and if not, it's mission impossible.
Yeah.
And of course, if you don't need to tell all the details about how the last bill actually got really paid, and as long as you're not thrown out of your house, you're pretty good. We also have actually a rule of not taking the one and putting kind of like house or apartments in as safety for a bank loan. So the day you have to do that, what's that?
Yeah.
And that was a written kind of like rule that we kept. So you never contracting. One thing is losing your car. Who fucking cares?
Yeah.
But kind of like if you lose your apartment or your house, or your family have to move, that is too much sacrifice.
Yeah.
So we had that rule. All the early guys said we're not going to go there. It was tempting, but no, that was where we draw the line.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, it is insane. So you don't need to also risk livelihood of people depending on you.
No.
And I think that's the fine line entrepreneurs need to really discuss with themselves.
Yeah.
Where does it go? Like personally, again, for me, like there's limits to other people's sacrifice.
Yes.
But there's practically no limits to my sacrifice. But that, if that means less sleep and more worries, and more stress and sleepless nights, it's fine.
Yeah.
Just as long as it doesn't affect my loved ones so much that it's not worth it. Yeah.
I couldn't agree more. And luckily, kind of like in a good way that they're not exposed to this insane roller coaster, which do start of this, and it like every day now it is like it's kind of like at least 2 yahoo and 5 for you don't need to expose all that stuff. But there's a line for how you shouldn't, but your family shouldn't sacrifice them if you're taking too far.
Yeah.
So there's a floor.
Yeah. No, I get that. So we'll fast forward a bit.
Yeah.
Because in 2019, something was it 2019? Something pretty incredible happened for your company.
Thinking about the IPO, or that I announced that I want to quit, or both.
Let's go for both.
Okay, it's kind of. I started with the first song because I remember I was walking from the, where I was living in San Francisco over to the office, and half the way on that walk, I want to turn around, and I basically what's going on? And it's like I don't have fun anymore. I don't want to go to work today. Then I said, shit, I need to do something. So the day after, I met in person with the director of the board, from investors, and I said, as a founder, I would never leave the company if the company was in any trouble. Because people they believe in you, your mission, they're sacrificing also. They probably have to take huge pay cuts because whatever crazy idea you present them, you're going to put step up with you. So if that was the case, kind of like I would stay around. But at that time, as you alluded to, we were on one fast track to an IPO, like 850 people. We had 1,100 of the largest enterprises in the world as customers, like Audi, BMW, Verizon, BBC, you name it. I told him, you don't need me anymore. And he looked at me and said, what the heck? Well, what are you doing? I said, I don't know. I want to do it again. And I had this guy, I was doing a keynote in New York, and in the end was this really nice dressed gentleman in suit and tie, and very, very gallantly, very politely raised his arms. It was from the States, said, I'm going to do 2 more startups before I die. And he raised his arm and said, excuse me, sir, how old are you? And that's a shit. If this is actually going to happen, we need to start again. Yep. So I stayed for 6 more months, just helping you're not kind of like dropping out. And it was the only reason it was personally I was bored. nothing bad, no assholes. Everything was going to an IPO, and which of course happened during COVID. And it was a big bang. It's almost $3 billion IPO. So it's a nice size. The thing is that since I already had left the company before the IPO, my visa was gone. So when I left the US during the COVID, I couldn't go back to New York yet, and to Wall Street and ring the bell. So I was in a hotel room in Oslo on a bad kind of like video conferencing in west of the gang was having a party in Wall Street. So, but okay, probably not. I'm the worst dressed CEO in the world, so I couldn't fit in on those pictures anyway.
No, I get that. Wow, well, that's quite incredible. And let's switch a tiny bit to the music industry, because you've also had sort of your focus a bit on the music industry.
Yeah. And
I assume it's because you love it, or I don't know if you love the music industry, but you at least love music.
Yes.
And there's something to be addressed. So we discussed a tiny bit before. It's not something that has really taken shape yet, but it's been under a long process. Was it related to the thing you said at the start with one of the big problems in the music industry, artists being paid?
I don't think it started as kind of like economically kind of thing that was kind of like the thing, but it's just seeing how many really good artists are sacrificing and kind of like are starving, and a lot of people are not lucky enough to start a tech company, if you know what I mean. And also knowing the impact music has on everybody's life. How would the world be without music? How there's no reason to live. So my passion is on this was also so I started also another company that haven't had a lot of love or time with some persons in LA, and the whole idea was actually serving two first-class citizens. The first one was actually to making sure that the artists actually make a living, so that they can still come on creating, and the other one was, of course, that the fan can still have great experiences. And for me, at least, there's nothing better in the world to actually see a live band. Like I get goosebumps kind of just thinking about being out there. It's the energy, it's the crowd, it's the sound, it's the smell, it's the sweat. It's the real thing. But the problem is, of course, first of all, some of these concerts are insanely expensive.
Yep.
But everybody can go to Taylor Swift, and not that. And I'm a big fan of Taylor Swift, but at least the ticket is extremely expensive. Also, you have traveling and stuff, and of course, not a lot of big bands don't end up in Norway, because it's a very strange way to bring all your gear. And it's the end of the world, so you need to go back. So we wanted to use technology to actually solve those two problems and make it easier for artists of making money, but also having opportunities for more people to actually get as close to a live concert as possible. So we started doing a lot of metaverse kind of thing first. For me, that got too gamey, if you know what I mean, with like stage avatars. I want to see the real people. Then we spent a lot of time into VR, but again, it is expensive equipment. It's not social. You sit there with kind of like your mask and who else is in the room, and if you have bad equipment, you start puking after 3 minutes anyway. So 13 was actually using this browser technology. We're mixing with a lot of 3D avatar, no, not avatars, but holograms, and making it possible for actually artists to play live in many locations at the same time. Which you're just streaming the performance into kind of like actual film locations as a background. So I don't remember what you asked me about.
No, what was it about? No, that's fine. If that was the problem you were addressing. But it's interesting because there's a lot of problems to be solved. But as you also said, if you only have 1 liter of gas and you go to Oslo, maybe you shouldn't drive.
Yeah.
And one of the big issues in music is access to capital. And I see there's a lot of reasons why. Maybe the upside is not that big. Like the chances of building a unicorn like you is incredibly small. But also there's so many other issues and bureaucracies happening. So why do you think, from a entrepreneur's and investor's perspective, why the music industry might not be attractive to invest in?
First, I think there's a lot of people out there only driven by the money side of it, and of course, specifically in the beginning, being a songwriter or doing a startup kind of thing, the one thing you can't afford is actually a good lawyer. So a lot of people are really, the foundation gets wrong in the beginning, because you have a lot of people that are kind of like getting the foundation wrong for you, and I think that had killed a lot of great artists that have met the wrong people in the beginning. You didn't have a lot of choice for filling up your tank, so you took whatever was available, and then you basically figure out that it was water and not kind of like gasoline. That was kind of like only for driving. So I think and this is I think where, of course, if having access to mentors or to kind of like advice for people that have done it before and take the time to actually really figure out what's behind the scene on this paper, it's extremely important, because if the wrong foundation, if you're building a house and the foundation is wrong, it's going to fall apart sooner or later, probably at the worst time in your career, basically. But things are really start ticking, and I've seen that happen with a lot of companies and also a lot of artists.
So basically what you're saying is why I believe the music industry might be hard to build and invest in is the general lack of foundational work. Because the thing is, a lot of people that do startups in the music industry come from a passion of music. And sometimes that lack of driven by business sense or due diligence on how to do this is overshadowed by the passion for the project and the impact. And not recognizing the problem enough and the potential solutions and all the complexities surrounding that might be one of the big reasons why people fail.
I think you're spot on, and you see that in the tech industry also. You have brilliant technical guys that kind of like is writing code faster than I read Donald Duck, they are brilliant. But of course, if it's not solved, I mean, if you're not kind of like having other team members that have commercial brain or actually looking after the business, you're gonna get broke. And that's the same in tech, it's same in music. Again, back to the whole diversity. Like if you know you are the sales guy, look for the geek, and if you're the geek, look for the sales guy. It is a team sport. You see a lot of really technical guys, they get also so in love with their self, and they think whatever they created is so unique and so good, but it doesn't help if nobody else can see it or hear it.
It's so interesting because when you talk about the music industry or entrepreneurs, there's always this perception from the audience pretty much that things just blow up.
Yeah.
You know, oh, they just made a hit and they become really big. What was really interesting, when I moved away from Denmark 4 years ago, I knew 3 people that basically a year after I moved out became the biggest artist in Denmark. And the narrative was like, oh, that went fast. But I know all of the backstories. I think the average time for these 3 artists to become as big as they were was 12 years.
Yeah.
Like 12 years careers, different artist projects, being songwriters, trying out. And at the end, they all found themselves with the right producers, the right songwriters, the right musicians, labels, managers.
Correct.
To when things came together, they could sustain a career.
Yeah.
And I think that illusion might also jump into people's music startup mentality. Like, we can also be a hit artist or hit songwriter or entrepreneurs in general.
Yeah.
And I see this over and over again. And that's also been my mistake when I was younger. I'm still young. But is the assumption that the coincidence carries a lot of weight. And it does, but it doesn't over time. You need to still sustain yourself. You need to still have the right people around yourself.
I think, and I totally agree with you, and I think the key word is persistence.
Yeah.
I went to this thing in LA, and there was kind of like famous musicians, also people from the film industry and from dance and stuff. The Goats was actually the drummer of Guns N' Roses which was hilarious, but that's different stuff. But every story was about 10, 12 years of struggling, trying, failing, kind of like producing demo tapes or whatever you did in those days. And the common thing was they wanted it so much more than everybody that actually failed. They kept on trying.
Yep.
And as you said, persistence. And every documentary you see on the news, it also in tech, they've been doing this for a long time.
Yeah, I was very lucky to see you on stage at the Impacts Awards here, the regional thing. And one of the things you said from stage was, as an entrepreneur, you cannot have a plan B.
No.
Because, speaking to that, if you have a plan B, you're not setting yourself up for persistence.
No.
And it doesn't mean that you should be stupid.
No.
Yeah.
Don't jump out of planes without a parachute.
Yeah.
No.
It's been incredible talking to you. And I think what's really interesting about this talk is sort of the musician mentality you bring to entrepreneurship. And I'm really going to think about the band member parallel. Yeah. I think one of the things that I have struggled myself with the most in my career is finding the right band members. And I think it has something to do with I'm quite particular. And I think sometimes I fail to recognize how to see the right things in others.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, even though I'm very business-minded, I'm an artist.
Yep.
And I get blinded by the art I'm making and forget the context. I'm getting better at it. But it's very inspiring to hear from you that that's sort of been your focus and that's how you believe you've succeeded.
Yeah, and accepting the difference.
Yeah.
And we're all different, but it's actually that diversity that actually makes magic happen. I often also say, being a manager for Rolling Stones and being a manager for Keith Richards, it was probably not easy.
Probably not, no.
But they ended up as the biggest rock band in the world.
Yes.
So, and I think that's what you need to do. Starting a band, starting a company, and there's got to be people that are not like you. That's a good thing. And you just need to kind of like take the good out of that and get the others.
So if you were to, again, I'm putting you on the spot. If you were to recognize a potential company or direction in the music industry that you believe would be worth pursuing, what would that be? What would be the thing to pursue right now?
Again, I think everybody wants unique experiences. And that are affordable and not kind of like you got this because your dad or your mom is kind of like billionaire and kind of like hire some super artist to come into to your birthday party, and I don't think that's what you're looking for. Where I think pursue innovation, technology, kind of like that gives you a unique experience, almost personal. I think that is something special. I had this. I'm not very kind of like into art, but I had this fellow of mine having this like a picture like this on his wall, and it was kind of totally love it. And I said, okay, my scholars, what is it? And I found he has been spending an evening with the artist, so we had a connection. And I think getting that kind of using technology, whatever, getting it, these unique experiences, that actually there is a story behind it. I will pursue those unique moments.
Yeah.
I had that to get scale, of course.
Absolutely, and I think there's also a societal pushback on things that are not into human. Now with AI and you don't really know what's real, what's not real.
Nope.
So you're consistently seeking out the real moments. If not consciously, then subconsciously.
Yes.
And I believe the society is going towards that, so I totally agree.
Yeah, I think it's going to be the interesting divide here between
Very interesting.
fake and real.
And how to combine fake with real, or use fake to make something real.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's the interesting thing.
Using tools is okay.
Yeah. It's been a pleasure.
Thank
you
you
for your time. Thank you for doing this, and thank you for loving music while you have success.
Still, that's my biggest thing.
Because we need successful people to look at the music industry. We need people who understand the journey to also help others understand the journey. Because ultimately, as you know, music has worth.
Yes.
And Entrepreneurs has a potential impact to making the surroundings of music better.
Yep.
And the surroundings around people who create beautiful things better. And that is a good thing.
It's reasonably living.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Les.
Really appreciate it. Thanks.